The birth nakshatra Lord is not just the most important energy, but the defining energy in your horoscope. And if for some reason, if it gets into bad dignity, for instance, if it either gets combusted by the sun, or it gets debilitated, entering its debilitation sign, or even if it gets retrograde, then this definition could have a huge impact on your life. The birth nakshatra Lord is not just the most important energy in the horoscope, but it is also the defining energy, as has been described in the different Jyotish books, but also by a lot of astrologers, not only from ancient times, but even contemporary times, where they see that the birth nakshatra Lord, or the planet which rules the birth nakshatra, becomes a very important driving energy of the horoscope. Now, how do we look at the overall results? Because the birth nakshatra Lord will have its impact every now and then, whatever may be a dasha period, whatever may be the transit. However, it does bring about a stronger impact during its dasha and antardasha, during its transit also. However, this is one energy which remains constant and active throughout. So let's jump in and see. If the birth nakshatra Lord gets into bad dignity in your horoscope, what results could it bring to us? So let's discuss the journey of the Janma nakshatra Lord, especially when it's either debilitated or combusted or retrograde. So, you know, for instance, in Vedic astrology, your Janma nakshatra or your birth star is like the spiritual DNA of your soul. It carries your emotional tone, your instinctive reactions, and also the deep karmic imprint that defines who you are at your very core. So now the Lord of that nakshatra, whichever the birth nakshatra is in which your moon is placed, that becomes the birth nakshatra, as we all know. So the planet which rules that nakshatra, that acts as the guardian or the channel of that star's energy. So for example, if your moon is in the nakshatra of Ashwini at the time of your birth, Ashwini is ruled, as you know, by Ketu. So now what happens is Ketu becomes your defining energy, that becomes your birth nakshatra Lord. But if your moon is in the nakshatra of Bharani, Bharani is ruled by Venus, then Venus becomes the driving energy of your horoscope, but also your life. So whatever happens to that planet, to that energy, whether it's debilitated or combusted or retrograde, shapes how easily, how challenging your soul's essence flows into your life, and it drives different results. So let's take it one by one. So for example, when your birth nakshatra Lord is debilitated, what does it do? What results that it brings? So then it brings a pressure, that kind of a pressure, like it's if you know the for example, carbon. So carbon, if it's pressed to very, very high pressures, it creates the diamond. Diamond is nothing but carbon, but it is very, very hard because of the immense pressure that the carbon has been subjected to. That's why it is deep down under the earth, where it has to be mined from, because the pressure of tons and tons of earth above that carbon will force it into becoming a diamond. So the pressure creates the diamond. So a debilitated planet means its energy is functioning in a sign or a condition where it feels out of its comfort zone. Like if you are an artist, or let's say you are a musician asked to play in a certain genre in which you are not used to. So the beauty here lies that in this comfort, in this discomfort, or rising out of this discomfort, you are forced to become a master of that field. So when the Lord of your birth star is debilitated, life is designed to put you through a series of transformative challenges around the qualities of that planet, whether it's sun, whether it's moon, or whether it is Jupiter, whichever the planet may be. So the transformative challenges come to you. It is not like, it's not a punishment that your birth nakshatra Lord is debilitated. It's more like training or getting coached or being mentored to be able to sustain the pressure to become a diamond. So it's like you're being asked to build the very strength that seems to be missing in your horoscope, that seems to be missing from your earliest stint. So for example, if it's Jupiter, as we know, it's the lord of wisdom, your belief system, your faith. So then the person might start to doubt life itself, start to doubt their belief system, feel disconnected from their luck or from their mentors. But through the struggle, they become deeply wise, and their faith is born because of the pressures that they have gone through, and they have been able to live that truth. But if it's Venus, they might face a hugely painful period of relationships before ultimately they are able to overcome the challenge that those relationships are bringing by becoming a diamond because of the pressure that they go through. So either relationships, or there may be a challenge in your self-esteem, in your ego, in your pride, how you think about yourself, how you carry yourself. But later on, these people become healers of their own heart, or they become artists whose beauty will come from the depth, not just from the surface, because of the pain that they have suffered, right almost at the soul level. But if it's Saturn, for example, then they may feel burdened by the duties which they have, the responsibility that they have. They will have to overcome that. But they will usually, with Saturn, they may have to go through a lot of dailies. But they will end up mastering discipline, patience, and humility. So the key phrase for a debilitated nakshatra lord is transformation through friction. So the weaknesses that show up early in your life become like the muscles of the soul, developed through repeated testing and training and lifting that your that particular nakshatra is doing. So these these individuals, or you, often may feel that life has been they have been forced to climb uphill, but once they reach the summit, they reach the top, then they say that they have been able to use the strength that they have built upon through this, and then reach the summit. So these are the clear winners. They are the true winners. So they evolve into people who embody that maturity, that compassion, the true power, precisely through what they have known, of the opposite energy almost that they have faced. Now, but when the birth nakshatra lord is combusted by the sun, so sun can't combust itself, right? So apart from sun, any of the entities, like it could be Venus or Mercury or Jupiter, whatever. So when the birth nakshatra lord is combusted, then this is the hidden fire within. Why fire? What is combusting that planet? Sun is combusting that planet, right? So that deep fire within is because of sun burning the energy of the planet and taking it upon itself. So usually you will find that in sun's dasha, sun will act like itself, but in the dasha of the planet that sun is combusting, sun will also bring about the energies of that planet, the planet which has gone combusted. So in combustion, it isn't about that you're destroyed or you're finished. Many people say, oh, your birth nakshatra lord is combusted, your lagna lord is combusted, 10th lord is combusted, your career is going through a challenge. So it's about being purified through the burning. So if you have to extract iron ore, you have to burn iron to a very high temperature, and then the molten iron comes out, the molten lava comes out. So the planet gets swallowed by the sun's brilliance. Meaning its natural qualities are overshadowed sometimes by your pride, by your ego, by your need for this identity. So the person's sense of self becomes deeply tied into the matters of that planet. So it's like saying that this is what my ego feeds on, but also what my soul needs purity from. So if your Mercury, which is also the energy of communication, analysis, education, taking calculated decisions, that goes combusted, then you may crave validation for your intellect, validation for your opinions, validation for your analysis, validation for your learning, validation for the results you have arrived at through clear or careful analysis. So until your life teaches you to speak with that clarity, with that humility, you will be taught a lesson. But if it's your Venus, then your love and your aesthetics, your need for aesthetics, your need for intimacy, your need for a good quality of life, that all gets combusted. So you might chase approval through your relationships. So if you have a bad relationship, then your sense of self-esteem, the sense of identity goes down. So then you need that validation through your relationship, or validation through beauty. So you chase beauty, you chase quality of life. So you need the validation. So if you are getting that, then you feel, okay, I've arrived. So until you learn to love purely, without the validation, without performance, that will be a challenge. But if it's Mars which is combusted, for example, then you may push your willpower too far. Wanting to do everything on your own, that killer instinct. I will try to prove myself. I will ensure that I become successful. So until you realize that the true strength is in your discipline effort, in your conscious action, you will keep facing the challenge. So the inner story here is of ego meeting your inner essence, the foundation, the DNA which the birth nakshatra Lord represents. So if you ask to separate what your ego wants, for example, recognition, validation, from your soul's perspective, what your truly soul values, then there may be a challenge. For example, your soul may want authenticity, contribution, sincerity. So till you reach that, you will be facing the challenge. So the combusted birth nakshatra Lord's native is often someone who burns from inside with a sense of purpose. But early struggles on become the healing fire later on. Initially, they can be blending, but they will be purifying you to be able to get the results that you want. So it's like turn your inside light outside so that you're able to shine. Now, when your birth nakshatra Lord is retrograde, so here the inward path of mastery will take a lot of time to achieve. And remember this, a retrograde planet usually becomes a rogue planet or becomes very, very unpredictable. You can't really predict precisely how it will behave. So what you expect, something else it will. If you expect opposite, it will do something very, very different from the opposite that you're expecting. So the retrograde motion also means that you take one step forward and two steps backwards. And sometimes, unless you are getting the inner feel of that energy, which is like pulling you back. So you're trying to move forward, but something is pulling you back. Sometimes it can be very subtle energy and you don't really feel it. And you have to really introspect how much I've gone forward, how much I seem to be backtracking. So I'm not being able to move forward. It's like you have to put a lot of energy to move. It's like the wind against you, and you're moving forward, and again the wind pushes you, and then again you're moving forward, like in the Charlie Chaplin movies, you can see. So when your Janma Nakshatra Lord is retrograde, its energy doesn't move outward directly, it loops inwards first, and that planet's qualities become deeply intertwined, internalized, and then the person must relearn, redefine what the planet's lessons are from within. So think of it as your soul is saying, I've done this before, because it's retrograde. The reason why it is retrograde is because there is some karma which is left over, which is not being completed. So you're being there, but some of it is still left. So, but I didn't get this right earlier on. So let me go back over it, but more carefully this time. So for example, if Jupiter is retrograde, then you can't just accept any beliefs blindly. You must test them thoroughly. You have to live through the experience. You have to find your own philosophy to be able to then arrive at your innermost wisdom. If your Venus is retrograde, then love becomes an inner deep study. Because what happens is, sometimes you're not able to reciprocate. Sometimes you're not able to express your love. Sometimes it takes a lot of time before you're even able to, propose to somebody, or just tell somebody that you like that person. So you must have this inner self-worth of true partnership before you are able to go ahead and propose friendship or love or attraction or whatever. But if Saturn is retrograde, then the responsibility that Saturn represents is all internalized. You become your own toughest judge. So you want to do something and if you no, I'm not doing this right, I'm getting this wrong, I have to redo it. I've not been able to discipline myself. I'm not being able to become a good team leader. So there's a lot of self-doubt also if Saturn is retrograde, and Saturn is itself slow and now it has gone retrograde. It becomes really, really slow energy. It's almost like stagnation energy. So you have to really learn to build your discipline from inside out. So these natives then will feel different early on in life because their rhythm isn't like everybody else. So they may take longer to succeed, they may take longer to progress, they may take longer to be able to show the depth in their words, their depth in their competence, their depth in their ability to be able to do things. So the understanding of the planet's energy is important. So through that experience, then you become richer, wiser, and then you have more individualized energy which you are able to express. So in essence, debilitation will test you in the outer world. Can you rise despite the limitations? Combustion will test you in the ego world. Can you purify the self, soul? And retrogression will test you in the inner world. Can you integrate your karma into awareness, being more aware, having more knowledge, being more precise, which you're not able to do earlier. So each in its own way is a divine teaching. And if you have any of these three situations, any of these three conditions, it's not that it's bad luck. It's just a spiritual selection. You've been selected to go through that fire before you become ultimately the winner. So you've been chosen for a harder but more meaningful curriculum, so that you're able to rise. But that rising is really with depth. The soul's elevation is strong, and the soul really is rewarded strongly. Now, the easiest remedies for these are not just like wearing some gemstones or mantras. They work hardly anything. It is the actual character uprising in a certain way, cleansing that you can do. So for example, if it's for debilitation, your birth nakshatra Lord is debilitated, then through show discipline, deliberate self-development, taking responsibility for what your weaknesses are, which have been expressed. For combustion, it is showing humility, it is being of service to others, it is being able to uplift others using your own power. For retrogradation or retrogression, the remedy is introspection and patience. Learn from your past patterns, meditate, understand, deeply go inside and understand where the challenges are, because you've been there before. With deep introspection, you get the answers. Now, there could be differentiation. The debilitated planet can form a Nijbhanga Raj Yoga, so a lot of it's that negative energy is subdued. The combusted planet can become brilliant inner fire for where your ego is tamed. The retrograde planet can become a huge spiritual genius where your rhythm is honored. So to summarize, debilitation is saying grow stronger through your adversity. Combustion is saying purify the light of your soul through humility, through understanding where you stand. With retrogression, it is you have to integrate your past, because retrogression is about your past. So integrating your past through reflection on the current situation. So any of these conditions will describe how the soul is evolving through your being conscious of the situation, conscious of the weakness, conscious of where you stand. And such people, only through sheer energy, sheer dedication, sheer consciousness, sheer understanding, sheer focus, then only they will be able to get the results that the planet will bring to you, not immediately but over a period of time. And when you reach that point, when your weakness becomes your strength, when your ego becomes your light, and when your inner introspection becomes the true wisdom, then you will see that every challenge was never against you, it was for you. It was your soul's chosen path to breaks. So friends, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me with the link given below. And till some other time with some other video, this is your friend astrologer and guide Irfan signing off. Ciao.